Hello darlings, it's Rob Marenghi here. Hope you're doing very well. So today I want to talk to you about why I have gone roughly 5 years without any porn. It might seem shocking to some of you, but it is in fact true. So, I'm going to give you 8 personal reasons why I quit porn. I'm going to give you, researching this a bit, 10 negative effects it has on people and culture. I guess people make up culture. 4 good effects it could possibly have, which is all I could find, scraping the barrel a bit. And then a very surprise ending. There's something hiding in plain sight in this whole video that ties in quite well with the theme. See if you can spot it. Right, so this is the me section, point 1. I watched porn for a very long time. I remember as early as when I was like 14, 15, printing off pictures, maybe even younger, pictures of Sabrina the Teenage Witch, the actress who played her, you know, with the black talking cat and the boyfriend who never got picked with the football team, was always on the bench, American football. Yeah, and just been amazingly excited by it. And Britney Spears, and a friend of mine snuck a porn mag when we were like 13 or 14 to a school trip, wrapped in an X-Men cover, which was extremely naive because when someone I know later found it, they said the giveaway was, it said X-Men, which sounds like porn. So yeah, that didn't go very well. I was seeking intense sexual excitement in a way that I didn't think could be found in a monogamous relationship. I think that's why I was doing it, and because everyone else would talk about it, and it'd be suggested to you all the time, because it was a momentary rush of instant gratification, followed by a sort of deadening of the soul and wiping your tear away at the eye as you get 2 tissues out. Sorry about that. Yeah, okay, point 2, my side of things. I found it very addictive. I was compulsive, you know, to say the least. Addicted is a bit strong perhaps. I was very strongly drawn to the repeat experience of doing it to keep my sexual excitement levels up. And I couldn't get as excited if I didn't watch it. And I was not realising at this point, but this was starting to transfer into how I view sexuality in general. It's a sort of completely male-dominated completely intimacy-free situation. So my number 3, I was going to share with you my most pathetic moment, but a few popped to mind, and there was one, I don't know if it's pathetic on my part. I rang like a phone sex line when I was about 15 and just full of anxiety and just, you know, just putting on all this bravado. And she's like, what would you do if I was there now? And I said, oh, how can I phrase this in a PG way? It was a 6-word phrase. I'd bleep you up the bleep. Yeah. Or 7-word if it was I would, but I was, you know, speaking in the potential past tense. I'd. Yes, so that was particularly bad. And she retorted immediately, are you a fucking faggot or something? Are you fucking gay? Why did I go all to the effort to censor that first bit and then just yell that? Sorry. That was quite pathetic. Also, point 4, it got to the point with me where I was, you know, backroom casting, which is by far the most watched porn. I think it was at the time I was watching it anyway. I was only really getting off on that kind of like, because it was real life, you know, it wasn't some girls have gone through God knows what trauma-wise and been manipulated and lied to and put on drugs and coerced into doing it. It was like people going in, just advertising to false adverts to be models or even porn stars, and then knowing they're being filmed and stuff, doing stuff, but then not knowing the guy is a fraud and, you know, obviously a corrupt soul, and it was been put on the internet. And I was only been able to get off on that, and I felt more and more uncomfortable and dirty and ashamed at that, I think. The bad outweighed the good quite soon when it came to that point. It also got to the point 5, where I'd be seeing these beautiful women, and also seeing like I remember seeing one video of a guy, and it was set up like they were just his housemates, but they all came in, 3 of them, really hot girls, and started giving him fellatio, and him filming it and just saying, "Oh, this is awesome," and me, like the sort of fear of missing out thing, like a much more hardcore version of the Facebook version. And I think, oh God, here I am, you know, with one girl or no girls, and none of my housemates are sucking me off, and yeah, it cast a perhaps unrealistic shadow on my life. God knows what the real dynamics of that house were, or indeed if it was a real house set up. So I'd stopped basically for my own well-being, I guess, emotional well-being, spiritual well-being, to avoid the pain and getting down in the dirty, you know, like. And I'd always tried to pursue real life sex, quite a lot before that, but then probably more so after that, to the point where I didn't need porn. And if I was on my own and needed stimulating, I had a rich theatre. There is a crude phrase about that, which rhymes with wank, which rhymes with hank tank, but I'm going to go with rich theatre of conjugal imaginings or something. We'll go with that. There is the downside, of course, for watching loads of porn and then pursuing sex, and I don't think the whole dating app culture helps with this much, but it really did, because in porn there's no intimacy and like kissing and stroking and whispering sweet nothings and taking your time to please each other. It's just you know, girl bent back, 10 penises around her, or even if it's just a one-on-one situation, it's just, you know, blowjob penetration. It gives you a bit of a nasty, brutish view of sex, and I guess sex is an animal instinct, and we maybe moralise and pontificate about it a bit too much, but yes, there was definitely that going on. My imagination did get a bit more stimulated once I stopped, which was very helpful. And the point 8, every guy will know this. Jim Jeffries puts it: the little bit of pain that goes through your soul after you've watched the porn, and once the fireworks once Vesuvius has erupted and Niagara has shed her curtains of white frothy goodness, you're looking at these thinking, oh my God, like these people are probably on cocaine. God knows what horrible situation the girl's been coerced from, trauma she's had that's led her to meet this guy who's misled her into thinking this is a good thing to do. God knows how old she is. God knows what drugs are on. Man, it's bad. Okay, so in researching this video, 10 reasons why I think this is bad. Not just for me personally, but culturally and for other people. I know. Socially. I keep getting itchy noses doing these videos. I'm not entirely sure why, but it does make me look like I'm on cocaine. But hopefully I don't look like I'm on cocaine apart from that. So, number 1, obviously, perhaps the most serious and horrible, the trafficking and the coercion, and the brothels and the rape and the street corners and the bridges, and all these are tied in with porn. You know, like there's plenty of tales of porn stars, porn girls who, in societies where the average lifespan's 83, 85, are dying at 50 of 4 things: drugs overdoses, STDs, murders from their so-called protectors, the disgusting pimps, and suicide. Because what kind of life would it have been to look back on? Alright, point 2, why it's bad. I touched on this briefly before, but there's no sensual foreplay, kissing, hugging. It's all about, look at it from the woman's point of view as well. They watch porn, it's like, right, this guy's got to be 9 inches and just bring it to me. I mean, it creates insecurities on both sides. The guy's thinking, oh, I just want to get in there and, you know, overpower and fuck. I think there is men virtue signal about how that's not going on in their mind, but there is a bit of that, but this makes it a lot worse. And women could be watching it thinking, oh, maybe I'm a bit soppy to be asking for all these kisses and cuddles. Maybe I should just be, you know, straight in with the blowjob, and then straight in with the 2 plummets with the 20 inches between them of good old solid piping. I used to apologise for things like that, but no. Yes, total domination by men is another thing. And this isn't a naive anti-patriarchy. The whole West is the patriarchy and men have fucked everything up. And it's really not that. Because that's just unbelievably naive and stupid. But not in this case. It is men heavily dominating women, emotionally and physically. And boys imitate aggressors that they see around them, you know? I've been reading Victor Klemperer's account of living in Nazi Germany. He's a Jewish professor, saying the worst people for yelling stuff in the street were the children who'd been brainwashed because they were imitating the SS and the propaganda they'd been told at school. And so God knows what boys were making out, 12, 13, 14, 15-year-old boys, especially the ones who are more aggressive in temperament. What kind of sex are they bringing to our young ladies? What kind of expectations? All right, point 3 of why porn can be bad. Maybe not why it's bad, but just a stunning fact: 90% of 12-year-olds polled said they watch porn, which is quite stunning. It's so accessible everywhere, isn't it? For free as well. Yes, point 4 ties into a bit of what I was saying earlier, but it is generally, when you look into the weeds of these things, like warped, young, vulnerable lives that have been full of trauma. These young girls who are picked up by this industry, hoovered up by the industry. Who dreams of being a porn star, you know, like when your career's day, when you're 10 or 11 or something, or a bit older, and they say, what do you want to do? I doubt most people's thing is, oh, I want to, you know, take cocaine until I can't feel my emotions anymore, and then get coerced into having sex with someone I don't find attractive for money on camera. So people can then masturbate over it and feed a whole sick industry. I don't think that's the case at all. Right, point 5, why it's bad. Not bad for him, but good. No. Yeah, not bad for him, but bad for me. Big No-No, whose channel I've mentioned in praise and criticism before, mental health channel, said when he gave up porn, he suddenly, it was like, maybe he was being a bit dramatic, but he was saying like the scales were off his eyes and his wife was suddenly 10 times more beautiful, and just her like seeing her gave him an erection, and it just broadened and deepened, and you know, they're enriched their lovemaking and their intimacy and all this. I didn't have the same thing because I was in a relationship when I stopped the porn, but maybe, yeah, Noah was more sexually attracted to his ex-partner than I was. Well, I was very intellectually attracted, but yeah, I don't think stopping porn is necessarily a silver bullet solution for saving a relationship, which some people probably are relying on, banking on, have banked on, have relied on, think it is, thought it is. Yeah, I guess he got lucky there. Right, number 6, the nutrition of the mind. So, just like your stomach, you know, you are what you eat. You start off as one cell organism, and everything else comes in from the outside. If you eat nothing but Mars bars for a week, you're going to be feeling that. If you watch nothing but porn for a week, it's going to have profound impacts on everything in your psyche. The incentives you have to do stuff, the way you treat people, obviously, the way you fantasize about romance or lack of romance, more to the point, sex, physicality in general, aesthetics in general, beauty in general, you know? Beauty could be fake double D tits now. Yeah, we've got to be careful, especially with social media and the excess of it and the excess of information and the way the news is dying, and in their death throes, they're dying to Joe Rogan and Ben Shapiro and, you know, the internet, thank God. In their death throes, they're throwing out more and more fear, pain-inducing headlines to grab your attention in as they slowly sink, you know, in like the picture of the Titanic with the dark ocean and the arm slowly going down, holding up the tabloid newspaper. That's what's happening in our culture, I think. That's a little side note, but yeah. Number 7, the categories you would get in porn. Like literally the rape category, the rape section. This is the rape section. This is the underage section, the teen section, the disabled section. You know, just not gonna create in feelings of young men, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, feelings of compassionate, romantic nurturing towards women. Let's put it that way. Okay, number 8. I can't do 8. 8. Social death. It is reputational death, I'm sure, to say you're a prostitute at a dinner table. There's a TED talk about this. The guy points out that you're at a dinner table. Probably most people there have enabled the industry by watching porn or even paying for porn. But if an actual porn star came in, then what do? Oh, I'm a C-class porn star. That's kind of, it's seen as with a ridiculousness. It's worse than stripper, like, imagine to most people anyway. It's quite a shocking thing to say, and a lot of young women have that, on their CV, and that's what they're working with. All right, the 9th thing, popular culture. Lady Gaga. I've always just thought that's porn in underwear, admittedly, but singing about poker face, about shagging your boyfriend, but he'll never know that she's not into it because she fancies this woman, and that's in vogue now. Pink, Avril Lavigne, I think, used to sing songs about how she's never going to become a slut, and then the next time you see her, she's a slut. Or that might have been Pink, to be fair to Avril. But yeah, it's like the advertising and bikinis, like a hip hop artist, rap artist, grime artist, backwards, just 20 women in a very skimpy bikinis. I mean, this great Sam Harris TED talk it's called "Science Can Determine Moral Values." He had 2 pictures, one of women in Afghanistan covered up everything except their loads of them together, all just, and on the other side, eight girls in couldn't be skimpier bikinis on a magazine cover, and he's saying, look, we've got the Western, sort of Eastern solutions. There must be a nice middle ground. Okay, and the last thing I will say about the bad effects of porn, naked pictures becoming currency. I mentioned this in my another video I did. There are sites apparently where, and this happens a lot, where a guy will sell a picture of his girlfriend or ex-girlfriend or video to these sites, and then the girls, they change schools, they change cities, they self-harm. It follows them everywhere because social media has no boundaries, and sometimes they commit suicide. And Jonathan Haidt's graphs, which I've talked about before, about recently, girls. Actually, not relevant to this one, so we'll leave it. Yes, there was one thing I heard which I couldn't help but mention before we get to the few good things about porn. If a guy's struggling to get an erection, someone puts chili powder on their finger and sticks it up their ass and causes an erection, at least according to Curb Your Enthusiasm. Okay, 4 things that could be good about porn. I watched a debate about porn, a bit of a debate, and one woman said she likes porn because it spiced things up and made things much more sexually liberal, and sex shops and dressing up and role plays, and it's brought all that out the closet, especially in England when there's been centuries of Puritan Christianity beforehand, self-flagellation when it comes to sex, and all kinds of denial and the rest of it. That could have been a good thing. Number 2, I guess it's some kind of release. You know what I mean? Like if you're incredibly frustrated and some guy who's in a aggressive sexual assault mindset, if he relieves himself to some porn instead, that could be a good thing. Although I can understand how the things could be entwined. It brings free pleasure to people, like a sort of cheap kind of pleasure, but like the masturbation pleasure. I'm sort of cringing through it's not a really objective this, is it? I'm cringing through the good sides of porn. And some people might like it, if you're a nymphomaniac, your dream job could be a porn star, male or female, like Louis Theroux's thing on the mega brothel, where there were some women there who just loved the job because they just loved sex. Although that was a very well regulated, non-exploitative, it seemed, enterprise. Completely different to the cigarette burns and even the legal Amsterdam prostitution rings that go on, and the rest of it. And there we have it. My thoughts on porn. Why I haven't watched porn in roughly 5 years. Why I want to go back to it. I don't miss it at all. If you're having real sex and imagination, and you're taking, there's already enough things messing up our mental health, social media wise, and internet wise, and advertising wise, and overcrowding wise, and concrete jungle-wise and pollution-wise, why add porn to that? And why fund an industry that does all the aforementioned things, the horrible things? Slavery, human trafficking is huge, absolutely huge. Like in India alone, there's millions and millions of victims of this, and it's the modern day slavery, And you're enabling all that potentially if you watch and consume porn. Maybe not, but and if you still are, then I'm not judging you, because I did for a long time until I learned some of this stuff, or I just had a natural mindset change. But it's the truth, man. Same with buying cocaine. You're funding a whole fucked up industry in South America, probably. Okay, I'll end with saying, I don't know if you noticed, but this shirt is actually hundreds of naked women in various positions. I think you've seen it now. In sort of camo colours. So I wanted to, George Orwell said about the thing that's hardest to see is often what's right in front of your face. I wanted to show that even while talking about this for 21 minutes and 17 seconds, some of you might not have even noticed that I'm wearing a shirt covered in basically porn, or at least sexually aesthetics or burlesque type images. So I thought that was fun. Well, I don't know if the video was that fun, but wearing the shirt to do it was fun. Alright guys, links to the music below. Subscribe to my channel, click the little bell icon whenever you subscribe to anyone on YouTube, because then you actually hear about them as opposed to not hearing about them. And I will speak to you soon. Goodbye.